Hey guys, Travis Gillespie here. Today we're looking at the coordinate plane, so let's go ahead and highlight that. In this first example, it asks us to name the quadrant where each point is located. So let's talk about quadrants for a second. Below you're going to see a coordinate plane. It's divided into four sections. There's a section here, a second section here, a third, and a fourth section. Well, the way these four sections were created, where we have an x-axis and a y-axis crossing each other. So these axes crossed each other to create the four sections. Let's talk about our first section, which is this entire quadrant here, or section, and we'd call this our first quadrant. So I'm going to use the Roman numeral 1 to represent this entire first quadrant. The first quadrant houses all of the x and y values that are positive. So I'm just going to label my ordered pair, starting with x. Remember, our x comes first, followed by our y coordinate second. And now I can show you how this first quadrant, it houses all of the ordered pairs where the x value and the y value are positive. And we're going to use these axes here to help us out. We're going to treat them as number lines. And remember, whenever we use a number line, to move along that number line, we always start at 0. Well, in this case, using a coordinate plane, this place where 0 is located right in the center, we call it the origin. So I'm going to just write that word down here, origin. And I can just arrow in to that 0 to represent that this point down below, or in the center of the coordinate plane, is our origin. So we're going to start here, and we're going to count along the x-axis. So we're going to start here at the origin at 0, and we're going to move along our x-axis, or the number line. So starting at the origin here, if we treat this x-axis as a number line, well, if we start at 0, we're going to move to the right of 0. We're moving away from 0 to the right. These are all positive numbers, positive 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Therefore, all of our x values have got to be positive values. Let's change pens, and I'm just going to put positive symbol there. And now let's look at our y values. So going back to the origin, starting at 0, if we look at the y-axis now and treat this as a number line, well, if we start at 0 and move up away from 0, all of these values are positive. Therefore, all of our y values have also got to be positive values. So we can see here that all of the x values and all of the y values are positive within this first quadrant. Now what we're going to do from here is move away from the first quadrant in a counterclockwise rotation. And since we're moving away from the first quadrant, we're moving to the second quadrant, which is here. It's this section here. And I'm going to use the Roman numeral 2 to represent the second quadrant. Now let's just talk about all of those x and y values real quick. Starting with the first value, which are the x values in our ordered pair, I'm going to go to the origin. We're moving along the x-axis. Since I'm moving to the left of 0, all of my numbers are smaller than 0. They're all negative numbers, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and so on. Therefore, in the second quadrant, all of my x values are negative values. Whereas my y values, I'm going to move back to the origin. Starting at the origin, we're looking at the y-axis here, and I'm going to move up to get into this section, or this second quadrant here. Since I'm moving up away from 0, all of my y values are positive values. Therefore, all of the y values will still be positive in the second quadrant. Okay, so now what I'm going to do from here is move away from the second quadrant. I'm going to move in a counterclockwise rotation down to the third quadrant. I'm going to use the Roman numeral 3 to represent this third quadrant here. So this third quadrant, it houses all of the x values, the ordered pair where all of the x values, they are, well, let's go back to the origin real quick and look. I'm moving to the left. I'm moving to the left of 0. My values are smaller than 0, therefore they are negative. Therefore, all of my x values in the ordered pair are negative. While my y values, let's go back to the coordinate plane. Instead of moving up, we're moving down along the y-axis now. We're moving away from 0 down below 0. These values are smaller than 0, therefore they're also negative. So all of my x values and all of my y values in this quadrant, in the third quadrant, they are negative. So now I'm going to move away from the third quadrant in a counterclockwise rotation to the fourth quadrant. Now this fourth quadrant, it houses all of the ordered pairs where the x values are positive. Starting at the origin, I'm moving away from 0 to the right. All of my values are positive for my x values. And all of my y values, so starting at 0 again, moving up or down, well, I'm moving down away from 0, so all my values are below 0. They're smaller than 0, therefore they are negative. So the fourth quadrant houses values where the x values are positive, the y values are negative. Cool, so now what we can do from here is name the quadrant where each point is located. So point A, well, we can see A is located in the second quadrant. Point B, it's located in the first quadrant. And point D, it's located in the third quadrant. Cool stuff, guys.